Over 9,000 kilometers from Abu Noor in Baltimore, Maryland, one of the first generation of students to graduate from the religious education program is helping to spread Sheikh Haftar's universal vision of Islam. Bashar Arafat came to the U.S. in 1989 after serving as an imam for 8 years in Damascus.
Sheikh Ahmed Kaftaro, the Grand Mufti, my Sheikh, would tell us all the time how the West is in need to know the true message of peace and love and mercy of Islam.
Imam Arafat became the Muslim chaplain for both Johns Hopkins University and the Baltimore City Police Department. Ultimately, he would influence a new generation of Muslims to take up studies at Abu Noor. We met one such student in Damascus, an American convert who had become a Muslim some 8 years earlier and taken the name of Halim. Halim first took a rational, skeptical approach to assessing Islam. This is not at all uncommon to new Muslims, particularly those from the West.
I was listening to an argument between a Christian and a Muslim, and I basically didn't feel like listening to it. And so I told them both to get away from where I was because they were both wrong. And I told the Christian why he was wrong. I used to study Christianity, and I told him why he was wrong, gave him the evidences. He got mad and left. And when I tried to do the same with the Muslim, he showed me that I was wrong. And I was very arrogant. I didn't want to be wrong. So I started to study to try to find faults so that I could go back and say, see, I was right, mashallah. And this didn't work out like that.
Bilal, from Toronto, Canada, who converted a little over a year before we spoke to him, summed up the value of careful consideration.
Of course, when you're born into something, you don't have that choice, like, let me just think about it. But when you come into a new religion, this is the rest of your life here, You're dedicating your life and your time to this religion. So you got to make sure it's right,
Another student we spoke to, Sonia, joined the relatively small Islamic community in Colombia 5 years earlier after similar deliberations.
First, I met some Muslims in the United States. And I just like the way they treat each other and the way they live their lives. And then when I came back to Colombia, I started looking for information about Islam, and I read so many books about Islam. And I went to talk to the Sheikh in Colombia, in Bogota, and I asked as many questions as I have. So I don't know. After a few months, I was just so convinced about the truth of Islam.
The thing about Islam is it challenges. Basically, it's go out and look at Christianity, go out and look at any religion. We know where you're going to come back because Islam is the truth, and we know those aren't the truth, But any other religion, they won't tell you to do that, because they don't want to take that chance and lose you, They don't want to lose a follower, right?
But most of the international students at Abu Noor are not converts to the faith. Nuwaira, from the Netherlands, was born into a practicing Muslim family of Dutch and Indian descent. As with all the students we spoke to, she came to Abu Noor primarily to study the Arabic language, but only after completing a degree in Islamic studies in Holland.
Islam for me is important in all aspects of my life. I mean, I studied for, 8 years about Islam at the university. Now I'm here at Abu Noor. I mean, so it gives me the, impulse? The impulse to study and to learn more.
Many of those we met studying at Abu Noor came from academic and professional backgrounds, such as Saeed, a Muslim native of India who now lives in the United States and works as a biology teacher. For him, the spiritual discipline of Islam plays a central role in his work.
So following Islam makes you very peaceful and very kind, affectionate, and very understanding of people. So in that sense, as a teacher, it really helps me to be very patient.
Islam gives you that ability to, go step by step. It doesn't force you into learning everything at once, you know what I'm saying? It tells you, take your time, because this is a big thing. You're changing your entire life here, right? And we don't want, you don't want to just take everything all at once and then you just I can't handle this,
In the Quran, Allah says, La ikrah fi din, you cannot force anybody to accept Islam. So I apply that for everything. You cannot force anybody to do anything. So that's what Islam is talking about.
Unfortunately for many of Abu Noor's students, the issue of force has played a much more central role in their lives than in just academic concerns. Samra, who has lived in Sweden since she was 13, spent much of her early life in her war-torn homeland of Bosnia. There her family came to a much different conclusion about the value of Islam in their lives.
My parents, they were not religious at all, and during the war, they were even less religious, thinking that how could this happen if God exists and stuff like that. And many of Muslims in their age just forget about Islam, forget about God during the war, because they thought they were left, that the God left them, and that was the problem. While young people like me, we turned to Islam because of the war.